Okay, so here's the brutal truth nobody tells small business owners. The playing field is not level. Billion-dollar brands aren't just lucky. They have advantages most entrepreneurs do not even see. They're not just selling products, they're selling psychology, they're selling an experience, they're selling network, and they're selling exclusivity. Now, I've spent hundreds of hours studying these billion-dollar brands, so you do not have to, and also worked with a few of the million-dollar brands, so learn a thing or two of what they implement. And lucky for you, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how they grow and the advantages they use, and exactly what that means for your business if you want to scale. So let's get into the video. Point 1, investment and team access. So let's start with something a lot of small business owners do not see, and this is the power of investment and team access. A lot of these companies literally have people obsessing over the smallest detail that you might not even notice. And I'm going to start with Huel. On the surface, it's a nutrition brand, right? You know, you have the shakes, you have the bars, you have the powders, but behind the scenes, they have teams working on product research, marketing optimization, and conversion testing. These are people whose sole job is to obsess over the tiny detail of the product, of the website, and the customer journey. I also know this because, if you've probably heard in my other videos, I watched Diver CEO, love Diver CEO, and I know Stephen Bartlett was invested in Huel. Now, he is Mr. Obsess over every single detail with his podcast. That's why he's got one of the best podcasts in the world. And if that was the case, I'm sure the companies that he's invested in, he has told them, you need to do these things. And this is to obviously ensure they get ahead of competitors and the small mom and pop high street brands that are out there too. At the end of the day, business is business. They hire nutritionalists, data analysts, and UX UI designers. And like I said, whose salaries are in the 6 figures because obviously they can afford it. Also because they know the return on investment is massive. I also know this too because my dad was a UX UI designer, and that's why with my clients, even though I only do ads, I make sure their landing pages and their websites are as UX UI friendly as possible, because I would remember when he's on his calls with all these big massive companies and he's even the smallest of details, and it's like, okay, people are dropping off here, people are dropping off here, this is what you need to improve, this is what color would work better, this is what, you know, would make people convert. And I learned a lot through him as to why the small things that you would not think matter at all really do affect whether someone is going to stay on your website or someone's going to then convert. So with Huel, every headline is tested, every photo, every email, every content piece, every ad. And that's why when you buy Huel, you think it's an easy, seamless, you know, great experience. And that's really because everything has been tested, everything has been optimized, and everything has been backed by data and expertise to make sure you're getting the best experience as possible. And these things are most small brands can't afford to hire or don't even think about. So the lesson here, and something I've applied to my clients too, is that you do not need a huge budget. Of course it helps, but yes, you don't need a huge budget, you don't need a huge team, but what you do need is systems, especially when you're starting off small. You're starting off with a very small team. Even if it's just small experiments on your own, adopt the mindset of trying different things, testing different things, analyzing, optimizing, and iterating the same way they do. Point 2 is Omnichannel Experience, and we're going to be talking Disney. Everybody knows Disney. I know quite a few people may not have heard of Huel, but your grandma, your mom, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, everybody knows of Disney. They don't just sell movies or theme parks, they sell an experience. And the genius is in the omni-channel strategy. They integrate every touch point, movies, streaming services, parks, merchandise, apps, into one seamless ecosystem when you watch a movie. And I know this was the case because I used to be obsessed with Lilo and Stitch. You're guided to buy the merch, and I had all of it, then go and want to play the games, and then also want to go to the theme parks. So Disneyland, Disney World, all of them. Every interaction is interconnected and purposely done. Even the small details are very deliberate. So when you're in their parks, they study how you move, how you interact, and even how you perceive time. Every ride, every queue, every souvenir shop is created in a way to maximize satisfaction and engagement. So the takeaway for your business and what you can kind of learn from that is that you've got to think beyond a single product or platform. how can your website, your social media, your offline touch points all feed into the same story? And even small brands that don't have the huge investment Disney does can start layering these experiences. So emails, social content, product unboxing, and using this to create an ecosystem that keeps customers wanting to come back. Point 3 is behavioral psychology and micro-optimisation. And for this example, we're going to be using Netflix. Their success isn't just the content, it's the psychology. Every single element of Netflix is tested. The thumbnail, the show title, even the order of your recommendations. You know, when you go on, like, let's say if you go on your boyfriend's Netflix compared to your dad's Netflix, compared to your mom's Netflix, compared to your friend's Netflix, everyone's recommendations is different. Even how the pictures they show in their thumbnail are different too. This is because they hire UX UI designers, data scientists, behavioral psychologists to study and observe how you behave on their platform. Why do you click one show and not the other? Why do you binge a certain series and not another? Every single tweak is very intentional. Netflix also leverages data to personalize your experience. That means your first interaction feels very tailored to you, making you more likely to engage and stay on their platform for longer. And this is why their turn rate is low and their growth is very high. And guys, don't get me wrong, small brands cannot hire Netflix teams, but what you can do is start small. Test your visuals, your copy, your user experience, and use that to understand really how your customer behaves. And then iterate on that real feedback. Even small little optimizations can compound over time. Every small little thing counts. With this video, yes, in business, there is an unfair advantage for those businesses starting out with investment and those that become billion-dollar businesses, right? They have access to this massive investment, which helps them hire these amazing teams, that helps them do these amazing optimizations, you know, swat all these very small stuff. And I understand you as a business owner, when you're scrolling through their content or you see their things, you think, oh, they just got lucky, you know, they're doing so well, like I would never be able to do this. But here on this channel, yes, I make the video, but we don't focus on the doom and gloom. And I will never tell you, oh, they have this, so you'll never be able to do that. No, I've worked with bootstrapped companies that have scaled from making a decent amount of money, but are now million-dollar brands. Yes, it might be slightly more difficult to get that billion-dollar status, but you are still able to get to making £1 million by learning and studying these brands and implementing these strategies. So rather than feel defeated, even though I've given you the tips along the video, like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. No, you've got your tips of how to implement in yourself, but also you need to study how they operate and you need to learn to adopt their mindset too, even if you don't have the same resources. So for example, with Huel, you need to obsess over product quality, test every detail, and optimize the customer journey. With Disney, we can learn that you need to create an ecosystem that every single touch point reinforces your brand and your story. And lastly, with Netflix, you need to understand your customer, you need to understand your audience, observe behavior, and personalize the experience. So you don't need $1 million to start, but you do need the mindset. Start small, iterate relentlessly, and make every action count towards building a system, not just pushing for sales. In this day and age, you need to understand that you're not competing with people in your area, in your town, in your country. It's a global market, right? You're competing with the strategies, the systems, and these bigger brands and their obsession with results. And until you think in that way, growth is going to seem very unattainable. Take a look into the companies that are similar to your brand, your business that you're building. You might have a hair company, you might have a clothing company. Even if you're not just looking at those billion-dollar brands, but looking at the million-dollar ones, or just the ones making 10K a month, 20K a month, depending on where you are, see what strategies they're implementing, see what content they're putting out, study what their website looks like, the type of things they're doing, and implement that to your business too. Not copy, but implement. Everybody starts somewhere. Anyway, peeps, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got a lot of value. And of course, if you need someone to do this for you, I'm going to leave my link below. You can book in a free call. We can talk about how to grow your business. And yeah, I will see you soon.